I'm okay doing all that.
Yeah, me too.
It's just sitting in
I
front
know
of
how to spell it, I went to Jarvis.
Great. So,
You did?
you did, I did not, I'm from Jersey.
especially these
Oh,
stimulated.
yeah, but you didn't go to Kennedy. So because I went to Kennedy, you would question whether I actually can spell it.
That's true, yes. Good. Thank you.
I just talked about myself honestly too, is we try to keep up on the agenda. Yeah. Stopped by yesterday, but,
It's kind of like my puppy.
Yeah.
Like I took this over, I could basically correction training.
Tom's probably gonna need that.
Whose dog is it? Chris. So there's a, you know, Chris. Yeah. 3 days. Squirting his dog, like, no doing. Now he'll respond if I call.
Irish grandmother with the
I think I'm
green.
big on so yes, trying to run the streets, so you saw that. So you whole body.
He's got long legs, as far as we can tell.
He's gonna be.
We've done that before.
Oh,
Do you get any ideas?
you're a teenager, like all like.
Park over near.
Right,
And don't understand how much it was.
Yeah.
You should see, you know, actually take the.
All right, being 6:01, I'm gonna call the meeting to order, but I'm hungry, so I'm curious. I'd like to start with approve the minutes from 9/19/22.
So moved.
Motion. Get a second? Second, thank you. And any additions, corrections? No? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. Citizen comments? All right, with that being said, I'd like to sneak Margot in at this point. Go ahead, thank you. Tell us what you're gonna talk about. You're not on the agenda, so we need a little.
I'm not on the agenda.
Sorry.
We don't have a
Just send an email. Yeah.
No, I didn't say whoops yet. I didn't say whoops yet.
No, not you, you.
To bring it
I
on.
got this one. Okay, now you know what we're going to talk about. No, this is integrated. First of all, I'm Margot Robert. I teach the 2nd and 3rd grade. I taught pretty much all the grades, but for a long time now I've been teaching the 2nd and 3rd grade. And this is my 2nd and 3rd grade of this year. This is integrated learning unit potatoes. And I came to talk about potatoes, but really this could be about any unit that we do. Right now we're also working on South America, and these kinds of things apply to South America, the integration of it, the collaboration of it, the outside of it, all those pieces. So this is the current 2-3 working on potatoes in the school garden. That's Lori Kinsey, for those of you that don't know her, from Tin Mountain. Many years she plants and harvests the potatoes with us. This year she harvested, and Dexter planted with us. So the question is, why do we continue traditions like the school garden? When I got here about 20 years ago, the school garden was right over behind this current building. Before they took down, before the Whitney Center, the school garden was over there, and it was different. It was flowers, and it was a pizza garden with different parts to it, and there were lots of people involved in it. Ann Bennett played a big role in teaching me about that. And then it moved, and over the years we've done different things with it. We've done Native American studies and Three Sisters and fertilizing in different ways, and during the pandemic it's focused a little bit more on the potatoes. And but the reason that we do it is not just because it's a tradition. I think it's important for us to step back and say, okay, we've been doing this forever, but why do we do it? So that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about tonight. Okay, this is why we do it. The reason why we do it is it's the, wait till you hear them. You just have to hear them. This is weeding in September. This is weeding the garden. You just have to hear them.
It's a huge potato! I think that's...
I There's nothing like Potato Day where you can hear them just so happy. And then after they they planted them, they weeded them, they harvested them, they cleaned them, they weighed them, they cut them up for the school, and they served the whole school so everybody tastes them. This is them cutting them up, getting them ready to serve them. So the indoor piece, but again, like, why do we do it? We do it because it makes us all really happy. But that's not really why we do it. We do it because we can hit a lot of the standards, a lot of curriculum. There's a lot of science in the 2nd and 3rd grade, and in K-6 that is we teach through. Dexter Harding from Tin Mountain does a lot of work with us on what plants need, on diversity of plants, diversity of species. Sometimes we tie it into visits to farms. Sometimes we do it all right here on the campus. We do science, math, writing, I'm going to show you. Sometimes it's tied into social studies. This year, the idea of where our food comes from and the idea that potatoes originated in, or domesticated tomatoes originated in South America, which is what our kids are thinking about this fall. A lot of 21st century skills there, collaboration, communication, which I'll get to. It could be integrated with everything. Our kids learned to count the potatoes in French. They presented at all school meeting in French about their potatoes. We, some years, integrate a lot of technology. Some years, music and art. All of our integrated units have music and art and technology in them. Right now, our 2nd and 3rd graders in music and art are thinking about South America. So this is not integrated, but one of the nice pieces about this kind of project is it has all those curriculum connections, but also can be driven by what kids want to know. So this particular kid has just got involved in the idea of the potatoes first being in South America, in Peru, making their way to Europe, and that kind of thing, following that passion of history at the age of 8, 9 years old. I want to show you a couple of quick videos. Math, there's a lot of math in potatoes, counting them, weighing them, figuring out the difference, multiplying by a certain amount of money. A lot of math goes on in potatoes. We're using a new math program right now. That is all about communication and collaboration and thinking about how to solve a problem. And all of this, if you listen to some of these kids problem solving together, and they're just counting them. They're estimating, thinking about how many sort of real applied math. Here he's weighing the potatoes. Some of those 2nd graders, some of them 3rd graders, some of them who are ready to think about, some of these kids are ready to think about 2 + 1 is 3, and some of them are ready to think about square roots. And the nice thing about potatoes is you can do all of that at once. They're out there playing with potatoes, and it's easy to do all of that at once. I think this is estimation, thinking about, this is the actual harvest day. I'm curious. They've estimated it.
Anybody close?
And sorry. I'm curious. Sorry.
Anybody close?
This is after estimation day, or this is after the harvest day, thinking about weighing the potatoes. There's a lot of math in that, but then also the difference between large ones and small ones ties right into what they were thinking about that day in the new math program. I could talk more about that, but for them, it matters. They care whether they're getting their measurement right. They care whether they're doing the math right. This is the same idea. They're really engaged working together to try and figure it out. They're continuing it back in the classroom, and it matters to them whether they get it right. things, writing. There's a lot of writing standards in second and third grade. There's a very wide range of what kids know and what they need to know and what moving along next. And they're expected to do things like revision at the age of 8 and understand what that means and do it. And they're expected to do things like learn transition words and things like that. Giving them a real audience where they're getting ready to share their potatoes with the school. You don't really have to stand up and say, we're going to practice revision. It becomes a real thing that they're doing. And again, they can do it at the level that they're at and be supported at the level that they're at. This is them getting ready for all school meeting. This is rehearsing to present their work at all school meeting. The two on the right over there have figured out that what they were going to say in the context of their presentation didn't quite make sense with the rest of it. So they had to stop us and say, can we go back and just switch so it's real revision instead of me, the teacher, saying, this needs to be revised, and let me teach you what that means. It's them saying, wait a minute, we got to figure out how to do this. So public speaking piece, the collaboration around that, 21st century skills like communication, and again, just learning to care about the environment around us, but also caring about what we're learning about. And just to finish it off with a pause just for a second. That's the last thought. You might have questions or comments, but in the very background there on the blacktop is the K1 having art class. One of the nice pieces, and we didn't notice them and they didn't notice us because everybody's really engaged in what they're doing. One of the nice pieces about the pandemic or the carryover of the pandemic is this sort of spread out of everybody outside doing things. But it was kind of fun as me being able to step back and notice they weren't even noticing us. And we weren't really noticing them. That's it. That's 2-3 integration. It could be applied to any of the curriculum that we talk about. You know, when you come here, all school meeting about the medieval festival or something like that. Those kinds of, why are we doing this? We do a lot of thinking about what are the kids going to learn from this? What are the important pieces that we need to get from it?
The public speaking part of it, you know, going to the other schools and being on the board, the life skill, I consider it a life skill, math is all, but the life skill of the public speaking in front of their peers especially, that we give our kids here in Jackson is unbelievable. When they get to Bartlett, it shines. Bartlett doesn't do as much with their students, they do some, but as they progress, you can tell kids who've come back, they're so more confident up on stage, and they don't even, a lot of them don't even think of it because they started so young. Like they're not, that's not part of what they're afraid of when they get to speak. They're more concerned about what they're speaking about.
Right. Is my data accurate?
Right, and coming from someone who got thrown into public speaking more or less with the job I had, it's an invaluable tool. So I applaud and I never want to see that go away there. So it's huge. Thank you for everything.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Yeah, I think our math curriculum was pretty much developed in the early 1880s and hasn't changed a whole lot since then. Every generation of students since then have come up and said, when am I ever going to use this? and maybe we're developing Jackson kids that aren't even going to think to ask that question. Because that would be really cool.
Thanks so much.
Also, I would like to recognize and forgot to welcome officially Keith Bradley back to the board, filling in for Kate. So thank you so much for joining us again and putting yourself out there. You're already sworn into a bunch of committees.
Yeah.
And
you get
hitting the
three
ground
months to
running.
convince me to run again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
3 months.
All right, we got 3 months.
Is that my neighbor?
It's a quick thing. So, but no, thank you very much for doing that. I appreciate it. So, all right. With that presentation of school programs, that was it. That was it? Okay, done, check. All right, old business? Do you have any old business? No, keep it all in front. All right. Instructional issues, first reading of policies. Just gonna lump them all together. First reading of policies for 1 through 6, and then we can vote on them individually.
So,
Second.
All right, so JJJ
you need
access.
to vote on that.
Oh, yes, so,
Okay.
second, everybody in favor? Thank you. Thank you.
Keep
Okay,
it
right,
honest.
by year
See,
14,
now-
by year
Kinda
14,
sure
I'll have it
that
down.
I,
JJJ, access to public school programs by non-public, charter school, and home educated pupils. Good?
I have a question, I think I know I read it. All right. Let me find it. Nope, that's not it.
Okay. JCA, change of class or assignment, best interest, and manifest hardships. Is that it?
Nope.
Anybody
Might not
else?
even been one of those, might be for,
JECA,
oh, no,
manifest
it's in the next, it's in,
educational hardship, delete,
I
replace by
pointed to
JCA.
I think it was in one of those ones.
He's got an issue.
It was the one about, I don't think it's in this group, I think it's in the, back in 10, it was about accepting, students.
Oh, tuition?
Yeah,
Oh,
tuition.
that's, all right, so we're coming up, that's the last one.
Oh, good.
Yep. IGBJ, home education instruction, access to curriculum and curricular, co-curricular programs, and the BEDH, public commitment, comment, and participation at board meetings, and then JFA, tuition policy.
So-
Any question?
That one I did, so is this a total new policy from what we've had before?
No, it's just this more standardized now, so.
Because the only question / comment I had was on, I think number 2 and 3 on there.
Okay.
I just thought kind of handcuffed us a little bit.
We get to, what do you, which,
And then you talked about how many students that we're not, so if there's 10 kids, we absolutely can't say, we can't take somebody, or if there was a total of 15 in the classroom, we can't take any.
right, we have to
I
cap
don't
off so
know
that.
if that is handcuffing us by putting a number there.
It's actually helping us by putting a number there so that we don't incur any additional costs by raising the limit of the student.
So we think going from 10 to 11 is, that increases our cost?
Well, it's based on per class and how the class is set up, so it gives us flexibility when we're
So
raising our class.
so from 15
Yeah,
to 16 would cost us more money?
yes, because then we may have to hire another aide. Yeah, so we don't want to incur any cost by tuitioning students in, is the point.
I think that was cost related as much as it was size of the classroom.
Size of the classroom, but also
We-
cost, yeah.
We don't want class size of 15, so.
So let me ask you this, let's say that we have a year where there's 13 students in the classroom. 10 of them are second grade, and what would be 2, 3, still 2, 3, and the other 3 are third grade. And we had a third grade.
If they're our own students,
No, we had a third grade that wanted the tuition in, that would be an absolute no for us.
it might possibly, unless the
Would be
principal
at
decides how you
14, would only be
configure
at
the class.
14, but would be at 11 for the class.
So Keith,
I don't know, I was just thinking that, so let's say, let me go back one step further. If that happened, could we meet as a board and change
Oh,
that?
yes.
That's
Yes,
so-
oh, yeah, we could.
So Keith, just as an example, for instance, that's a kind of number where we might decide to waive the policy. We had a situation earlier this year that where we were considering waiving the policy that I was initially in favor of until we had a good discussion about it, and I realized that we shouldn't waive that portion of the policy. That might be the kind of thing where it might make sense to waive the policy for that, and we might come to that kind of conclusion, because it might be saying to everybody, hey, we want someone in this room for that reason.
Or if it was one. I mean, I would, so as long as I know that we can always change our policy on the spot, but I'm okay with it.
All right. Okay,
That's
so
only first reading.
all those in favor of moving 1 through 6
don't think we voted on the first reading,
You
Yes.
made a motion to take them all.
Yep.
So you didn't vote on each one individually, so you can vote on all of them at this point.
To go to second.
did we? I'll go to second.
I make a motion to move to second reading
Second.
policies 1 through 6 under A in the agenda, first reading
Okay.
policies.
Second. Thank you. All those in favor? All right. All right, moving on to personnel actions.
No.
Not tonight? Thank goodness. Okay, budget status report.
You're okay so far?
Everyone okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
question. Yeah,
Keep that budget motion.
and again, this might just be simple, but I've been out of the loop for a while. Oh, I saw that we had, money budgeted for a library person, but I'm taking it from, we don't have a library person.
So that's actually,
We are paying for a consultant, a Conway staff member is consulting with the Jackson Public Library, and as you'll see, there's a contract for them.
So it's a different line for that somewhere. And I just saw that none of our funds were used yet.
we don't have,
Okay, so we don't have.
We don't have an employee.
yeah, we don't have an actual employee.
So like if we have to, let's say for our contracted costs from consultants, if we overspend that budget, we might pull money from the library pension
Yeah.
and put it back into that, where the budget would consume. Good question.
This is our second year, Keith. that we
Without
have
one?
with
See,
that.
that's why.
And now we require by law, or we're using the Bartlett.
It is a required permission.
We're not using the bar, we're using the school group.
Oh, Conway, you said, yeah. And does that get us through the legality of having some?
I didn't really do that at all.
But you're still acting like it's an open position, right?
At this point, when we sign
The
the
Jackson
agreement, that's for the rest of this year, and
Got it.
I will re-advertise for it.
Perfect, thanks.
Well, I think I saw that it's only a fraction of what, we're only paying them a fraction of what we had budgeted for the position.
Yeah, it's well within the budget.
In January, if we found somebody, it might still be in the budget for the rest of us, we had, right?
It could be, but then we have contracts with both the consultant and the library.
We'll still be within budget.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, consider agreement with Jackson Public Library. Funny you should ask you.
So,
Second. All those in favor? All right. Mr. Richard.
Yeah, I have just a few things for you. As far as the principal search committee, I did get an opportunity to come up and spend a lovely afternoon with the staff here at Jackson Grammar School. And then last week, came up and spent some quality time with members of the Jackson community. And in both processes, we kind of went through and started off with individual qualities, kind of workshopped it into bigger groups, and then the list that you see here is from the two different groups. Did say that we would come back to the board as well. You have a different perspective. I don't know if there are things that you would like to add to this, or how you would like to move forward at this point. Whether you want to set up time, whether you want to just have general conversation. But we can knock that off the list here. We'll do that now, or?
Yeah, we can take a
Can I
poll.
committee too?
Pardon?
Can I
Principal
run that
search
committee?
committee? No.
No.
You have two board members.
There's full, we have
It's
quorum.
full?
Yeah. How do you guys feel? I'm fine talking about it at the school board level. I was the active community one with Micah.
Yep.
But there were some things that came up to my mind that I wanted, that I felt were school board minded. So with your school, it might be too short notice for you to think if you wanna talk about it now, or we could have a special meeting to discuss what we may want in our qualities of.
I have a couple questions to get, just to get me up to
Yeah.
speed. We
Yeah,
had
try.
talked years ago about possibly the next time this happened, looking at an assistant principal and using Bartlett as a principal. It's something we
I
had,
don't remember that.
it came up in board meetings at some point or another. And I'm wondering if that's been talked about at all?
No, that has not been talked about at all. I don't know if,
Yeah, I know, I thought that was,
Yeah.
because I was gonna ask a question, and I figured I'm gonna leave alone, I'll wait till I mean.
Yeah. Because we
I
have,
don't
we
know, I
offered
don't
him
even
the
know if it's
job.
even something that has been discussed yet, you know,
I think
well, we talked about having like a senior staff member act as a vice principal under Joe, but I think at the time it wasn't Joe. It was,
Joe.
yeah. The other Joe, yeah, okay, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know if any of that's,
No, to my knowledge, that has not come up at all. No.
And I think as far as our discussions for tonight, it's, you know, we're trying to figure out how to get this rolling, and I think that, you know, your question is good. Is that something we want the principal search committee to vet out in that process? I think it would be right. I mean, to just at least, because that's something you're gonna have to ask Kevin and Gail and Joe, and it's gonna be more their kind of end of it to know if it's even possible, but it's worth asking that question.
yeah, I couldn't remember where we went with it. It was probably 6, 7 years ago.
But it's something that,
I think it's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
No, because Gail was, well, it was more when we were worried Gail was gonna retire 5 or 6 years ago. When we started talking about it.
true.
well, it's a question I've always heard in the community as long as I've been here. So for that reason alone, I think it's important for the community at least to vet out.
Yeah.
So that we
To
To have an answer,
Yeah.
whether it's to say, this is why it's practical or why it's actually a hard no.
Exactly.
All right, we'll pose that question to the committee.
Keith, you can have a special post to the committee to vet that and do the work for it.
So, so how do you guys feel about do you want to have another meeting separate from this meeting? Do you want to discuss it now, or do you want to put it at
Let's
next
talk about a
meeting?
timeline because we're in it,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Kevin, can you speak a little bit to where we're at? Because if we were going to have a separate meeting, when would that need to be able to co-ease this all?
Are we getting applicants already?
We have had one applicant,
Oh, yeah.
but it's not been open. It's not, we just have like a expression of interest, but not any.
Okay.
Everyone's good.
But Kevin's like, this
I
is
got
perfect.
25
But it's
minutes.
Carrie Hutchinson.
I know, like, just pull like that, just rock this.
So, yeah, Keith, you touched on a couple of other points. The Personnel Committee is also working with Gail to revise the job description that will be coming to you as well. We'll be looking at advertising budgets, Siri's done a little bit of work with. And we're just kind of keeping things moving forward here. I will tell you that, you know, not speaking for Gail, but the number of responsibilities of the principal, I think, is kind of changed over time as well. And, you know, I'm not sure that it would make sense to have a part-time person overseeing, unless you have to, you know. I think that there's some pieces related to that. So, yeah, you'll see the timeline here. We're in October now, right? So, again, we have some advertising piece. We're soliciting the feedback for the qualities. We have budget coming up, so, you know, talking about salary range and any of those other pieces, and if they're, you know, you want to be careful and make sure you have all the staffing that you need. And then the committee in December, and then just kind of get things going.
So if we were to do a separate board meeting about qualities, it would have to be next week sort of situation?
No, not
Okay.
necessarily,
Okay.
because you aren't really going to, you can do it a half an hour before your next
Okay.
school board meeting,
Yeah.
like 5:30.
We have a committee meeting that day.
Well, it only, that's from 4:30 to 5:30. We can
Perfect,
move it
yeah,
to
5:30.
Can't, we have a high
That's
school.
right.
Or half an hour after.
It's 4:30 to 6.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was only an hour. Okay.
Yeah, you can have a work session after if you want, you can do it after this, it's up to you folks.
I can't do it after tonight.
Yeah.
We can do it
But
after the next meeting.
I think I could definitely do it after the next meeting. I'm also feel really good about what the staff put together,
Yeah.
and in part because I was here for the parent community one, so I'm also comfortable with using these as a template. So I could go either way. What are the people who weren't a part of either process? Do you want to have a special breakout group, Jerry?
I'm happy to do it after the next meeting or before the
I
next.
mean, we could spend half an hour. You can collect your thoughts between now and then.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot. I mean, I have some thoughts that, you know, from a school board perspective of what I'm looking for. I was at the community one and I didn't feel that it was appropriate at that time to throw that in.
Great. Well, let's do that after the next meeting. If that works timing-wise, that would be my.
Your homework is to come up with
What, look at the list and.
Yep, we gotta come up with 5.
5 all.
Yeah, and then you work together to identify as a board,
Yeah.
you're the top of that.
Got it. Could we be reminded of that? Not for me, I will have it.
I've already-
Yeah, exactly. Dean's ready to go. You don't have to do D2, but.
I do have a comment and slash question, I guess, if anybody wants to comment on it. But looking at what the staff's looking for in a principal, I was kind of surprised that it said outside of SAU 9. I didn't know if that was, where that came from. Was that because they don't want a peer of theirs to come in and then be the principal?
I don't know if anybody.
I don't know if anybody wants to elaborate on that, but I was kind of surprised to see that.
I think it's just fresh perspective.
Yeah.
That's really the biggest thing. Yeah.
You're exactly right, Keith. I think it's hard to be a peer, it's hard to have a peer. It's
Yes.
hard for us to have a peer come in, it's hard to be a peer
And then
come in from somewhere
transfer.
else in this SAU to Jackson. You know, it
Yeah.
could not be exactly what we wanted. And, you know, someone from somewhere else brings a different perspective, you know, to encourage change and growth in a positive way.
Thanks.
It wasn't a negative thing at all.
Yeah, yeah. No, I just, more preference.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Kevin?
No, like I said, I think we'll just be meeting with the personnel committee to finalize and recommend a job description and take a look at the advertising,
Okay.
cast a net, wide and far.
I'm just gonna highlight that, but then our next meeting, just so everybody is planning for it, that it's like a 6, we should all plan, it's like a 6 to 7, like, we know there's gonna be a half an hour work session at the end of it.
I just need a little bit, one more clarification, sorry. You said you already have a committee.
Correct.
So when we, in December, it says appoint committee, is that a new committee?
So if you take a look at page 3 on here, Keith, there are different slots available.
So this is, it's not a new committee. It says in December, we're gonna appoint a committee.
It is a new committee, the principal search committee is.
So I can still get on it.
You could dual role it, but I don't know if that actually would work as a school board member, but
You have 2 board members already there.
yeah.
You have
So it won't be a new committee, it'll be the same committee.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what.
The
I was
same
like.
committee plus other people to help community members.
See the holes on the.
Yeah.
So we need community members for everybody who wants to go talk.
So
to
if I
board
offer
members.
to mop floors one night a week, I could come in as a staff member?
Well, maybe you'd like to join the Health and Wellness Committee, because I see there's no name on this list at all. And we're about to have our first Health and Wellness Committee meeting. So we would love to have a board member join us for that.
Perfect.
You get to weigh in as a school board member. And
Right. All right.
We could have a librarian, Keith.
I'm not a qualified librarian.
After school in Richmond.
Actually.
Yes.
Need that.
All right, Gail, do you have anything for tonight?
I have lots of odds and ends tonight.
All right.
Soccer is just about over. And I want to thank Hampton for pulling that all together, and the parents who showed up, and because we were pretty close in terms of numbers to not having enough volunteers to run the show. So I appreciate everybody who did. I believe it's the 27th, is that correct, Susan, for the annual parent-teacher? That was the latest number. Game and pizza party to end the season. So if you're around and want to grab a piece of pizza, come on by. We just about at the end of this week, we should be finishing up with our NWEA, which is our achievement testing that's now being used across the district to measure students in reading, language, and math. So we're almost done with that. Our plein air, Melanie Levitt will be coming to do painting with the children next week, starting on Monday. It'll be Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Children will be outside painting, I think, the covered bridge. Yep.
It's 4 days.
Also, as Joe mentioned, we're doing parent-student conferences on November 10th. We have a half day, so we'll be in conferences from noontime until 6 o'clock that evening. And we'll be reaching out to families to set up times to have them meet with us. And Mrs. Reader was super excited to say that all of the fourth graders who are now eligible to play instruments have taken up an instrument. So our band should be growing by leaps and bounds. We were super excited with that. And I would say, I don't know what the percentage is, but I only see 4 youngsters not singing in chorus. So we have almost the entire school singing in chorus this year. So that's been a really nice addition to the music program.
Didn't you change the strategy of asking?
We did. Instead of having the children sign into chorus, they had to have their family sign in out of chorus. So it's worked beautifully.
Good job. Corralling.
Otherwise, they're required to attend. Yeah.
That's perfect. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Let's see, board member committee reports. So board member, before we get that, so I just want to recognize Hank over here has been filming us and just wanted to respond that we have about, Hank, how many hits do we have?
200.
200 hits to these meetings. So people are watching. Yeah, so just to let you know, and we capped out the facilities meeting for the town meeting that I ran the other week. We had 1,200.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Views, so that was awesome. So thank you very
Thank
much. I appreciate that. Okay, so back to community reports. Committee reports, sorry. Policy committee. I did not attend the policy meeting this morning. I was knee-deep in catering, so I missed the meeting this morning. So they're tabling. We're at old policies, but I feel bad. I missed the meeting anyway. We'll move it on to next month. We'll have other policies to review. So, personnel committee. What do we have?
We had a discussion about the principal. I mean, that's
Yeah, we're involved in that. Yeah. Facility and transportation committee
I have an update already.
for that.
Yeah, I talked to Scott on the way out, and I'm gonna call Jim Hill tomorrow
About the buses.
and try to set a meeting up for the buses.
Great. Thank you very much for taking that on. I appreciate it. High school options committee.
So the high school options committee met this afternoon, and we're filling in a matrix, looking at the 4 high schools that we've identified. We've got some questions to clarify some of the vocabulary, such as what is a voucher, and we're going to be getting those to Kevin so that he can help clarify, so we can provide some community members the language that we're using so everybody understands what a voucher means and how that can be used. And December 1st is our goal to have the information on the 4 schools that we're looking at, and then from then we'll begin starting to have our listening posts, activities in the beginning of the year. I was able to go to the staff and came up with some excellent questions from them, shared the information with them. I went to the select board last week and shared just where we are, giving them information, and this afternoon I met with 3 officers of the PTO and shared with them what we're doing for the high school options committee, and we want input from the community. So, parents standing out there with their, neighbors waiting for their kids to come out from school, just start those questions, send us an email, ask us, to clarify, or, this came up in a conversation, and, we'll be certainly happy to get back to you as soon as possible. So our next meeting is the 21st of November, and we will be meeting at 4:30 to 6 that day.
Thanks, Robin. Thank you.
So I don't want to leave this meeting too much from that. I guess I'll try to get up to speed with you before that meeting, but I'm wondering, has anybody started looking into that data of how many kids go on and graduate from Kent?
Keep talking about the last.
How many kids that finish 6th grade here graduate Kent? I'm not talking about graduate high school, I'm talking about graduate from Kent. I'd love to know what the percentage is over like the last 10, 15 years.
Yeah, we were trying to track that down, Jessica, and all right.
I mean, it would be, you have to go by names, and I don't know who's legally allowed to look
Yeah,
at
we
names.
couldn't.
I would be willing to help. but
We'd have to go back to 6th grade students.
and look year by year, what were the names that they graduated from Kennett that
Yeah.
year?
We but both Jessica and I have tried this week to look at different things and.
We can take a look, Scott.
Because I was also, and again, I don't want to bog this meeting down to that, I was hoping that there'd be a fifth option. Fifth option would be, do what we want to do, we'll go where you want. If that makes any sense. Like not people, not.
I believe the committee's looking at that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And I sent you all this, just a little while ago, some questions that have come up there, you know, so any comments on those, just send them to me, they're just, what I was mentioning, what is a voucher, tuition contracts, things of that sort. So if you have anything, and so we can clarify those before we send them to Kevin to move on with that.
Thank you, I know it's a lot of work, thank you. DEI?
Yeah, so we have our minutes from a two-part meeting that we did in person, which was really exciting for the DEI committee. Several of us are here right now. So, you know, what we did is we took the steps of saying, you know, with the board's priority, was one of our goals for this year to look at what DEI work could mean and what a JGS graduate should understand about DEI. We went through a process of what are we currently doing, what are we currently doing that is awesome that we want to keep doing, what would we augment it with, and these were our suggestions from the committee. So they are, and I'll just read them for those. So there's implicit bias exploration for staff, faculty, and board members. So I wanted to highlight that because, you know, really this work moves forward if everybody's involved with it. And so, you know, giving the board a chance to, it's, you know, some of the questions became, sometimes this might be mandated, this might come down from the board in a more specific way, but for us, we said maybe the committee can think about this. And what the committee says, hey, let's do this training, which is actually one of the, help me out, Pam and Margot and Erin, it was one of the goals that one of the things that the teachers prioritized, right, for the 3 pieces that the teachers really wanted, or the staff wanted to prioritize. So we said, yes, and it would be great for the board to go through that as well, which would be like a 1-session facilitated session. We have strategies as well as performance indicators in the minutes, also increasing family engagement in DEI and SEL. So, you know, DEI is sitting with SEL, which is really important because it becomes more integrated and it becomes more universal in all of the work and all of the kind of culture that's happening at JGS. So there are a couple different strategies for highlighting the intersections of DEI, SEL, and academic curriculum during existing family events, and as well as offering parents the opportunity to engage in parenting for social inclusion group, which we started this end of school year but didn't take off because it was right before the summer, but there was interest in that. So that was the recommendation there. Toolkit development, this also was one of the ones prioritized, right, by the staff. So helping the staff, helping create a toolkit that's like real time, and that this is a living and breathing document. And this would take the steps that we outlined in the document, and really kind of being relevant to what is happening right now and making sure that we are engaged in what it means to support that, and then also like create an ongoing collaboration and system and like culture of talking about this and talking about how to do this better and how to be inclusive even in our journey on the DEI journey. And then the last piece of it was partnership with the SAU on Social Studies Curriculum Committee. So that was something that Gail brought up, which is that they're, Gail, maybe you can speak to this a little bit for the context.
Like every other subject has a group of experts, curriculum experts around the district that work together to develop curriculum, and it seemed like that would be a good place, since that's where we derive all of our instructional units from, to have them start to do the work of looking at programs and materials being used across the district and how to make sure that we're meeting some of those goals through the curriculum that we're all teaching.
Awesome. So what we, I mean, as a committee, what we're really trying to do is come back to the board, so like stepping away and saying, how does this look? Does this feel like it's in line? There's a list of other things, which is an appendix which we can share about the other priorities that we identified that didn't make it to the top slate for this year, but we did the work to say what's next. And if the board feels like this is in line, then we can start talking about how we would go about it. And some of that's going to come back to the board, like how would we like to do an implicit bias training, right? Like what does that look like? But to see, did this land where we want it to be? Awesome. I'm in. Cool.
And when's the next meeting?
The next meeting is November 17th.
1 o'clock.
Yeah,
1 o'clock?
yeah.
What day of the week is
I have no idea. It's probably a Thursday because we like Thursdays. It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that? 1 o'clock?
Questions or ideas about this? I mean, for us, really, it's looking to the board to say, are we on track? Or are there questions or refinements that we want to be making?
I've been just really impressed with the work that's happening so far. It's exciting. I mean, I like the idea of, you know, including us more on the, yes, for example, with the training session and all that, it's a great idea.
Awesome.
It seems like now it's time to get kind of validation from the board for what you're doing. It seems like we need to do a little bit of work to kind of wrap our heads around what's going on with it and
Yeah.
get back to the feedback. So thanks.
And I like the idea that you mentioned, that you touched on, like you're kind of assessing where we are as a school, and like how we're doing already. So I feel that that's very important, as opposed to just assuming where we might be. So I think that's really important to take that into account, so, you know.
And I think that staff piece is critical. They have got to have the input.
Yeah.
They're the ones that are gonna have to go to these trainings, and they're the ones that, you know, it's fine to read something on paper, but another thing to actually, you know, live it in their days, because we know there's also potatoes to be harvested. Estimations and all kinds of, then the new math program and
everything else.
everything else. It's
Principles.
on their plate.
Yeah, it's a lot, so,
Pronunciations, potato, potato.
Awesome.
yeah, so thank you. And we want to make sure we keep things balanced as far as, you know, priorities with staff and students, not overwhelming people. So
I mean, I think the consensus on the committee was that all of this was possible and that all of this was, you know, we really focused on what can we do now, what do we want to do now. So that's great. If that sounds like people are saying go for it, then we'll start talking about the board's pieces and we'll be able to kind of roll up our sleeves. It's like so much of our committee is right here and figure out how we do it. So yay, here we go.
all right, cool.
Thank you.
All right, Darlene, safety?
So, the 7th of October was a staff development day. So here at Jackson, they had Alice training. And I was able to come over and join with the staff that morning. So Chief Matty was here, Sergeant Hill, and of course Chris Purley was here as well. I had been through many trainings myself as a teacher, and not to the extent of this. This was quite involved, quite thorough, and of course, you know, I've been away from school for 6 years now, so. But I thought it was very well done. The staff was receptive. They were great presenters. I thought, you know, they were appreciative of what it felt like for a group of people to go through the training, and they were empathetic with that, you know, gave you an out if you didn't want to participate and stuff and all. And it was a great team building then. So I sat out when they did the actual, you know, in the classroom thing, and I sat and watched, and, you know, you could see the team, you know, and the pushing and the, you know, the way they worked together. So I thought it was a great, you know, it had more to it than just the Alice piece. You know, there was a team building that day. So I was happy that I was able to attend and participate with them. So I think they still have this 153-page book that you've been filling in with all the different things. So.
We're doing a reverse evacuation for our staff meeting on Thursday.
Oh, good. And, you know, the Fire Prevention Month, right?
It is.
Everywhere across the country.
Chief Henry will be here to do a whole school thing, and then be with the K-runners, and get little hats usually, and
That's good.
yeah.
And do they do bus evacuations too?
Yes, we're doing bus evacuations.
Yeah, it's back. Even kids that don't ride it every day. you know.
Yes.
Because you have class trips.
Pardon?
You have class trips?
Yeah, for
We bus them all to the mountain to ski as well, so.
Yep.
Yeah. So, good, yeah. Well done.
Do you have anything to add, Gail?
No, I just want to thank the staff, since so many of them are here, for being willing to participate in it. There were 13 out of 19 who
That's
made the
good.
effort to be here, so it's a good percentage. And, you know, it really made us think about, like they said, the focus wasn't as much about the specific response, but in looking at your classroom and having some kind of a plan in your head for different scenarios. Just gave us a little advance time to figure out what would we do if that happened, right?
Okay. Whitney Center.
Not much is happening now. Yeah, we haven't been to any meetings now. They've restructured the way the Whitney Center. So, you know, as I mentioned last time, the Whitney Center committee has restructured, and there's basically facilities committee and then program.
So should we change the Whitney Center?
No, we're still
Leave it
on
alone?
that.
Take it off.
We're still gonna meet quarterly, like the oversight committee was always supposed to meet quarterly to do the administrative, decision-making around the building. And I'm needing to get on the Whitney committee about any maintenance needs they might see for the budget in the future. So that's something to help me remember that, darling.
There's nothing wrong with having a placeholder on here.
No, I
Say
just wanna check.
nothing's reported this.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we also need a placeholder for the strategic planning committee, even though it's more like a support, and I just want to check in because I know, I just went and I looked at our emails, so, I know that had been the goal for this meeting was to have that, so Kevin and Gail, did you guys, were you able to do that? Or?
Oh,
I went through and I've done a draft, but
Okay.
it's in presentable form at this point.
Got it,
But
so,
it could be very easily.
I'll put it on
great, so that'll be, and then our November meeting, because I think the plan was, I just looked at the emails that you'll send something to the board beforehand, so we'll be able to, so it's just, it sounds like that somehow went by the wayside, so if we can reboot it for the November meeting with the right cadence of operations beforehand, and I think just having a standing item, just like nothing happening right now, or hey, we're preparing for the quarterly look, I think that would be helpful.
Great.
Great,
Thank you. We'll get it on there.
awesome.
Alright. There's one, the facilities, the town facilities meeting, which I'm on, the needs. So that meeting went really well. It's not on here, but you'll all be, as community members, getting a survey in November that I hope you all fill out and send back in, and then attend any other listening posts. So, Miss Emily, you were out of the room, but we had 1,200 hits on the facilities meeting that we had that night.
Oh, really?
Yes. So there was quite a few people watching, so, which is great. Or looking into it, so, just trying to get that word out there for that survey and get it back in to the. Thank you. All right, date for next meeting, November 21st, 6 p.m., and we will add on a few minutes to that meeting, so everybody come prepared for that.
Thank you.
We do it after or before?
After, because we have a you'll be busy at the high school options meeting beforehand.
And what time is that?
That's at 4:30 on November 21st.
That's the,
You can.
Am I on that too?
Yes.
Okay,
That's the
so
school
I
options
take
committee.
I have two meetings at the same time. Then what am I supposed to
No, the
say?
high school options committee is at 4:30.
we staggered each day or both.
Oh, okay. All right.
You don't have to,
Yeah.
you have one.
Yeah. Okay. That's a great segue to committee member assignments. Do we need to do?
Committee assignments, I didn't bring my list, I didn't see that. You have one?
Yeah.
All right, so we only have 3 others. Thank you, sir.
Feel free to write in.
All right.
I think I got it.
Crossed off.
I thought we did this back in April.
We did, but yes.
We did, but now we have
Okay.
Kate's off, so Keith's on, so
I didn't
just
see Kate's name on
reviewing
any of them. You took my name off?
budget. Jerry or Micah, which one of you wants to drop off?
I mean,
the
Keith is
budget?
super jazzed about the budget, so you
He
guys.
is, no, I'm-
So
which one of
if
you
wanna do
wants
budget,
off?
I'm good.
You're
Yeah.
off?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the bus on there?
Hold on, let me go down the list. Sorry. Policy, it's still me. Joint boards.
You need a second for that one? You have one on the list. that's-
Well, Jerry and you.
No, no, for
Policy.
policy. On my list, it shows.
No, that's fine. Gail's also on it. Manifest, that's fine. Bus, Keith. So Darlene, you're off bus committee.
Oh, boy.
Sorry.
I don't have to worry
So
about
I-
diesel
I-
and
I-
gas anymore, you know?
I have a question of that. We have that listed as bus committee, but then on our agenda today, number 3 for committee reports, it said facility and transportation committee. list.
Well, we jazzed it up, so instead of.
Let's
Is
call
that the same thing?
Yeah, it's the same thing, yeah.
Because we also have a facility one here that I saw too, right? Yeah, and then we have facilities.
And
down
you're on there too.
So maybe, can we just make it the facility and transportation committee in the committee list as well?
No, I don't know about that.
Sometimes it's
No.
specific.
Okay, got it, sorry.
Right now, we want to, but sometimes.
You miss the skis on the bus committees.
Yeah, sometimes we get.
Jerry,
So sad.
We had one of those 6 or 7 years ago. You came up
I didn't know.
No, that was you.
I wasn't agreeing with you, yeah.
Because you know the high school allows, I don't want to.
Okay, all right, hey, all right.
The ski jumpers have them on their seat on the bus, I can tell you that.
That's not legal.
That's why we have a separate bus
Okay,
committee.
perfect, I love it,
Great.
thank you.
All right. Curriculum review, Jerry and Darlene, you think you guys are still fine with that?
Yeah,
Okay.
we reviewed nonchalantly.
As long as I've been on the board
I went,
for,
I did.
And Darlene's on safety, so we're good as there. We're good
Where's
there.
safety? It's not on my list. I would like to be on safety too, if you have.
Well, that was the ALICE training that she just attended.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go
There's
forward.
only one slot needed at a
Safety.
point. No, there's only one slot needed, so if Darlene can't make it, we'll call you.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
I got your email.
I'm on the handbook, executive facilities, it's Jerry and
So you
Keith.
skipped a lot of my list. My list different than your list?
I'm just.
Special ed review, you were missing someone.
We don't need,
Okay.
yeah, we're good. We don't need anybody out right now. I'm just careening through it quickly.
Yep.
As I can. All right. Bartlett Curriculum Committee, still Jerry and myself. Are you good with that?
yeah, I have no idea what that is, so I'm perfectly
Good.
fine with it.
Okay, I'll call you when I'm on that one. Personnel, so that's myself now and Micah.
Yep, so, right, Jen's in there.
Library is Darlene, Whitney's still Darlene. Diversity DEI is Micah and Keith. And SAU Social Justice Committee is Micah.
That's not really happening.
Right, well, if it should happen.
If it should.
Tuition Review Committee, why is Sasha on here?
And Jessica too.
And Jessica. Oh, that's the high school.
Yeah, that's the high
Is that
school.
what we're morphing it? Okay, so we're good. And now Keith.
Yeah, because high school options and
Oh,
tuition
that's
are
that.
not together, right?
Does anybody want, as Gail said, we have a health and wellness vacancy, and there's a meeting coming up. There's not, how many, can you give us an idea of how many meetings there are and the time commitment for that?
4-ish.
And is
A
this
year.
school, what kind of committee is it?
Pam?
Well,
I believe that too.
is it, oh, there's 3 options.
It's during the school day.
I thought Emily was our board member on that committee.
Were you?
No,
Are you?
she's
I had
not
another
on the
hat
school.
on at that committee. That's when I was the Public Health Advisory Council Coordinator, with a Jackson hat on.
But I thought
But
you were ex officio member.
Our own building.
A building committee, got it.
Right, the nurse, yeah.
I only did that.
And when is that next meeting?
That's the she was on the SAU 9 board and ours as the liaison, right? You functioned as the kind of
Can
liaison.
we-
Oh, you're speaking, oh, that's right.
Can we put
Yes.
her on that?
You can do whatever you want.
But this is-
I like
I just missed
time.
time because I was in a Zoom meeting and I realized.
This is a,
I can do anything I want.
yes, you can be on.
No, so,
We would love to have you if you would like to participate, but
Okay.
it still is a board member, right?
We need a
When is the next meeting?
tomorrow.
We're going to schedule it, but Lisa asked me, who is the board member representative? So I went to my list and lo and behold.
Hold. Yes, Pam.
Jackson Health
Wait, Pam would like to talk, and she's raised her hand very politely. Yes, Pam?
write that down. The SAU committee has reorganized their schedule. They'll be meeting 3 times as a full committee, and then the subcommittees will be meeting individually on their goals and objectives. So if you have someone, they can join that.
Okay. All right, so who would like to be on the SAU 9 and Jackson Health and Wellness Committee?
I don't think I'm the right person, but I will do it.
All right.
He's about nominating.
Maybe you'll learn something.
Just don't touch that.
Okay. Dictionary number 2, there you go. Okay, Jackson. This is Micah, Jerry, you good
Yeah.
with that still?
Oh, yeah.
I'm not letting Jerry off. High school options committee, we have that. Wait,
So,
isn't that the tuition review?
Those should get
That's the
bundled.
thing, those need to be.
They need to be adjusted.
Well,
Can we combine those two?
Yeah.
so that's not my committee?
It is, your committee.
It is. It'll
You're
get
on
fixed.
it, too.
You're on it. You can't
You're
leave it.
You're on both of those. We're gonna combine those committees to
Keep
one
it,
committee.
the thing to figure out is like, so like the strategic planning committee, for instance, like I'm on that, but without Aaron and Micah, I definitely would not be. So you need to find a committee that's actually backed up by people to know what they're doing.
Could be
Principal
the
search
old one on
committee,
the wellness one, you say,
So
right here.
And then we have the tuition study committee, which is Jerry, Darlene, and sometimes me. So you're on there.
Yeah.
All right, you're going to 27.
Yep.
Okay. All right, back to you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate your time today. All right, so we're going to discuss qualities for Principal of Jackson Grammar School at the next meeting, after the next meeting. So everybody, we need to come with 5 qualities that you want 5. Okay, everybody? Individually, you have to come with 5.
Yep.
All right, then we did the committee assignments. All right, finally, thank you for your patience. Do we have any citizen comments? Oh, my goodness. Yes.
Just have to tell you, I've been bursting with this news that the 4-5-6 Jackson Jaguars scored a goal against Conway Rapids. Just watching these kids play soccer all day on Saturday was, you guys should be so proud of these kids. It occurred to me, I've done Valley Cup for a million years-ish,
Yeah.
and watching these kids who have in their lifetime played one game of soccer go out there and play against the pros from Conway Rec and Freiburg. Every single kid had a positive attitude. Mike and Sean and Kathleen coaching, they were phenomenal. And the little kids watching the 2 little Pugapalooza, little Jackson Pugapaloozers, and one of the Kennett boys from Jackson as their ref be still my heart. I stood there and almost cried. It was so sweet. So I just want you to know that they scored a goal today, because that's like the biggest news.
Wait, was the weather nice?
I know.
Oh, Saturday was the
I
perfect
always
day.
wanted
For
snow.
the first time in ever.
It
Ever.
snows.
Rise
Yeah,
up.
it's like a
It's never been nice for Valley Cup, and I think it was just because, you had 14, high school boys who had to ref and weren't happy about it. And, somebody showed down on them, I guess.
We've also been doing community soccer. We've had 2 weekends, 2 Sundays of it, and it's been really well attended. And really fun to get everybody out there.
So there's so
Yeah.
it's
It's been
Yes.
wonderful. It's
Yes.
a really
Yes.
neat
Yeah.
time to be a part of. Yep.
They should send that on the e-news so that other alumni
That would
kids
be
are
good,
around.
because I think it's just been in the school news, yeah.
Yeah, if you send it on the e-news, some of the other kids that live in town, like,
Yeah.
play soccer, can go down and
Yeah, it was great. It was really
Have
nice
fun.
last year. I
Yeah.
also decided not to train for soccer, so I'm back.
just want you to know that I brought my parents to that, and the weather was so bad, they have not been back. My kids are in college now.
You can't control the weather for that, but I was like, geez, all day long with these grumpy complaining boys and little kids getting soaked in. No, it was perfect. It was a beautiful day.
Good, I'm glad for you.
I brought my
And,
camper the last year I went. It was snowing. I did. I brought my camper. It was snowing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it snowed a couple times.
All right, we're gonna let our superintendent and principal get home. So we have any non-publics this evening? Thank God. All right, motion adjourned. Second. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate your time and patience.